to your computer, Susan, not to the cloud,
Yes.
please.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
And I notice we're having a few more people joining us. Welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to Grandmother's Circling for Peace. My name is Grandmother Susan, and whether you're in the morning, afternoon, or evening time zone, or wherever you are, we want to thank you for taking part in this experiential presentation that's facilitated by members of a long-standing grandmother circle, many of whom are on the call today. The circle is going to explore the prophesized role that grandmothers and women have in bringing about peace. It's based on an indigenous teaching that states there won't be peace on earth until the voices of the grandmothers are heard. This circle is going to include a guided meditation and heart sharing about the role that women and grandmothers must play in the peace process. And we're going to open the circle today. Grandmother Noreen from Alaska is going to bring us into the circle with a song. Are you here, Noreen?
You're on mute, Noreen.
Good morning.
Good
My
morning.
name's Grandmother Noreen Otnos in Juneau, Alaska, and this song is called Suhede. Suhede shuka vitana. Suhede shuka vitana yaguste dake kuchikana hasgari ki
Grandmother Noreen, do you want to say anything briefly about that song and what the meaning is?
The song is called Suhede Shukaktitan, and it's opening a book of knowledge. It was written for the children to bring in the knowledge of the Tlingit culture and to teach them about values and the Tlingit heritage. Is really beautiful. It's like opening the book of knowledge.
Thank you. Well, we're asking for that. And I'm going to pass the feather. In our circle, we pass the feather when we speak. So I'm going to pass the virtual feather to Grandmother Diane, and she's going to bring everyone into the circle. Diane Hargrave.
So thank you, everybody. I pick up the feather to bring myself into the circle. And traditionally in our circle, we spend a few moments calling in the 4 directions, and it serves multiple purposes. In this particular configuration, if you'll allow me, I will be not only calling in the directions, but calling in each of you, each woman that is here, into our circle, and I'll be joining those two events together. Once again, I want to welcome you all for being here, whatever time it is. So if we can just all together take one deep breath in and out. And if we take a second breath in and allow yourself to feel all the beautiful women that have joined us today, all of those that are joining our circle at this time and place, and all of those who will join the circle by viewing it at another time. I'd like you to imagine that all of us are in a circle. See yourself in this circle of participants in any way, shape, or form that comes to your heart. As you imagine our circle, perhaps you're holding hands with someone next to you that you perhaps know or that you don't know. And take a moment to notice where you are in this circle. Take a moment to notice if you're situated in the east of this circle, or are you standing in the south? Perhaps in this circle you find that you're in the west or the north. Just take a moment to place yourself in our circle. And as you find your place in our circle, I take this time to call in the 4 directions. I call in the direction of the east and all of our sisters that are standing in the east of our circle. I ask them to join our circle and to be with us at this time. I call in the medicine of the east. I call in the healing, the place of a new day, the sun, new beginnings, the infant. And I ask the medicine of the east and its teachings to be with us at this time and at this place. Moving to the south, I call in the medicine of the south and all of our sisters that are standing in the south of our circle. South is of the child, of innocence, a place of detail. And I ask for the medicine of the south to be with us at this place and at this time. And I call in the medicine of the west, the looks within place. And I bring into the circle all of our sisters that are standing in the west, a place of dreams, a place of the young adult. I ask the medicine of the west to be with us at this time and at this place. And I call in the medicine of the north and all of our sisters that are standing in the north of our circle, a place of the adult, the elder, a place of wisdom. And I call in the healing and the medicine of the north to be with us at this place and at this time. And I call upon Father Sky, who looks down upon us on our earth walk. And I ask for the medicine and the healing of Father Sky. And I call in the medicine and the healing of Mother Earth, whose sweet face we walk upon. And I ask for her presence and her healing and our medicine. Take a moment to once again see yourself in our circle. See your placement, to call in the medicine of all the directions, of all the healing. And I ask that we open our hearts together during this time in this circle. And so it is. At this point, I'm going to pass the feather to Suzanne.
Actually, I think you're passing it back to me just briefly, Grandmother Diane, and I was just going to talk for just a second about the prophecy of that there won't be peace on earth until the voices of the grandmothers are heard. Before we go to our peace meditation that Grandmother Suzanne is going to lead us in. And thank you for all the beautiful bringing in of the directions. There was, what I love that Grandmother Noreen started our meditation with a song of the Tlingit people. The late elder Jim Walton, whose Tlingit name was Kla'acht, is a member of the Tlingit Nation from Alaska. He's of the Eagle moiety and the Kagwantan Wolf clan. I had the honor of being adopted by Jim, and he often spoke about this teaching that there won't be peace on earth until the voices of the grandmothers are heard. His work brought together Indigenous people from all over the world. And it was based on the vision that many people throughout the week have been talking about, the vision of Black Elk, who as a young man had a vision on a sacred peak in South Dakota that's now called Black Elk Peak. And in his vision, he saw his people circled around the tree of life, the sacred tree of life, in a hoop. And they stood around that tree of life in a hoop of many hoops. There were many, many people that came together and saw this hoop. He saw this hoop of many hoops. And Jim Walton had met with the grandson of Black Elk after he read the book Black Elk Speaks, and he wanted to know if what was written in that book was true. And Black Elk's grandson said to him, yes, it was accurately portrayed, the vision that Black Elk had. So the rest of his life, Jim went from being an alcoholic and many problems that came as a result of colonization to dedicating his life to bringing about that vision. When he passed away, I wanted to honor him along with many other people who knew him. And I kept having the dream of this prophecy about the grandmothers. And I wanted to know more. What is the role of grandmothers? What if there won't be peace until our voices are heard? If we believe that that vision is true, and we believe the vision of Black Elk and the vision of all these elders is true, then what is the role? What is our role? And that's the question that we are bringing to all of you today. It's a question of our heart. And it is a question that we're going to be asking you to answer with your hearts so that we can bring that back to World Unity Week as an offering and as a gift from all of you and from all of us to help move that vision forward and bring it down into the world that we're living in now. To get us ready for that, many of us respond to dreams and visions. And we operate, many of us, our lives based on those dreams and visions and the way we can bring those forward in the world. And Grandmother Suzanne in Germany had a dream and a vision about a meditation for peace. And she's going to share that with all of us today. So thank you for your attention, and I'm going to pass the feather to Grandmother Suzanne.
Thank you, Susan, for passing the feather to me. I'm honored to be in circle with you, all of you. And just before I start, I want to ask if the co-hosts also have the possibility to let people in when people try to drop in, because I would not be able to take care of the technique right now. Okay, Susan will do that. Thank you. Like Susan said, I would like to invite you to a meditation, and the meditation is called The Little Space of Peace. This meditation was given to me in a dream, and it came not only in the meditation, it also came the message to share it with others. It was not just a meditation just for myself to meditate by myself. It was given to me to share it with others and to bring it to circles. And so I feel very honored today to bring it in the center of our sacred circle and to share that with you, with all of you. Thank you. And I have brought my drum with me for that a little bit, just to help us tune in. And maybe you just want to make yourself comfortable. Maybe you feel like closing your eyes. Yeah, you can stretch a little bit your body and take a few deep breaths. And as you follow the sound of the drum, you can feel or see in your inner eye our circle of beautiful women and grandmothers from all directions, from all over the world. Feel the energies flowing through our circle. Feel the energies of our connections. Feel the energies of the 4 directions Grandmother Diane has called in together with us. The energies surrounding us, supporting us. There is the image of our sacred circle where we are gathering as women, as grandmothers, from different countries, different continents, different cultures, backgrounds, languages, dialects. Take a deep breath, just feel that wonderful connections. And in the center of our circle is appearing a huge tree with roots, a strong trunk, branches and twigs and leaves. Feel the tree and the energy of the tall one, the wisdom. And maybe you can see what kind of tree it is. Feel the roots of the tree and wonderful Mother Earth. The roots give the tree stability. And all Mother Earth, wonderful Mother Earth, is supporting and nourishing the tree with water and everything the tree needs for being alive. Feel the tall and strong trunk that is growing into the sky. Connecting the roots and the ground. Feel the branches and the hundreds of twigs and leaves that are growing towards Father Sky and Grandfather Sun. And also connecting the Star Nation. Feel the tree in the center of our circle as a bridge between Mother Earth and Father Sky. Between the seen and the unseen world. And as you look closer, suddenly you see there in the tree sitting many doves in the branches, white ones, gray ones, and also colored ones. These are all doves of peace. And there is a special dove for you, for your own inner peace. Feel which one is yours. Feel how it comes to you how it becomes a part of your heart. And as the dove of peace is joining your heart, you can feel how the inner peace is floating through your body. And you just can take a few deep breaths. To breathe in the peace in all your cells of your body. Stay with that feeling, because there's another dove of peace waiting for you. A dove you can send off to another place, to another person, to another place on this earth, in the world, where peace is urgently needed. Again, take a look and feel which dove is yours, the second one, sitting in the branches of the huge tree in the circle center. And feel where this dove of peace would like to be sent by you. Sent by you as a woman and a grandmother. And as you are sending out that dove, you can add a prayer, a wish, or what feeling is coming. And I will support that with a little song from my heart, my soul, just coming through for that. Hey, 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 May the prayers, our wishes, supporting our doves of peace, sending out to the world, to people, to places, to countries on our planet Earth. And maybe also feel the peace in our own hearts and souls. Brought as a gift from the dove of peace for our own heart. I will do a little bit the drum, and the drum will, the sound of the drum will helping us to come back, traveling back. We are thanking Great Spirit, our ancestors, and all our spirit helpers. And the wonderful doves of peace who are supporting us in our vision to be in peace ourselves and to send out the peace into the world. Thank you for your support and all your wisdom. Deep gratitude. And with that, very slowly, you come back, coming back in our time and space, in your physical homes all over the world. And into our virtual, wonderful virtual circle here. And as you stay in gratitude and peace, I hand over the feather to Grandmother Diane. She's leading the next step. Thank you for being a part of that, of this wonderful energy here. Thank you. Aho.
This is Diane picking up the feather again. I'll speak softer now so that we don't move too far away from the space that we're in. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you for sharing your meditation, your song, and your dream with us. At this time, we would like to set up spaces where each of you can share an answer to a particular question that we pose in the circle. To do that, we are going to move into breakout groups, and there is nothing particular that you have to do except you will be placed into one of several groups of smaller women, and you may be prompted to accept. You may see a little acceptance screen on your computer that just asks you to accept to enter into that group. Breaking into smaller groups of women gives us the time and the space to share very deeply, where everybody has a chance to speak. In our weekly circle, there is no leader. There's no facilitator. And this works perfectly for us. And women know how to work this way. And so we want to make sure that as you move into your smaller groups, everyone has the feeling that they are contributing, that they're sharing, and that they're listening. We call this type of sharing heart sharing. And there's a very specific, sacred, and gentle way that this heart sharing is conducted. I will just offer a brief introduction to heart sharing, and then as we are in our individual groups, the question that we are being asked to pose will be shared with you there. Heart sharing has two parts. The first part is that we find it's helpful to actually place your hands, one hand, two hand, over your heart when you're sharing. But before you speak, you close your eyes. So your heart sharing would look to others. Your eyes are closed. Both hands, hand is over your heart, and you open your mouth to share. This often takes your sharing and your communication to a much deeper level, and your hands over your heart is just a reminder that this is the source of your sharing. Because of the nature of heart sharing, the second part is that we engage in listening, deep, sacred listening. So that when one of our sisters is sharing, we're not distracted. We're not thinking about what we think we might want to say when it's our turn to share. Sometimes it's helpful even when you're listening to have your heart over your hand. And when a sister is sharing, to the ability possible, try to look at them, at their image, or to look directly in the camera, so that there is a space where the sister that's speaking, their voice is heard very deeply. There's no response to each individual share. It's a sacred sharing where what comes from that person's heart is shared with the group. It's listened to deeply, it's honored, and then when it's felt time, someone else will begin to share. We have found this to be a very deep and enriching and special way of sharing. Oftentimes, what comes out of your sharing may not be what you would expect. So we invite all of you in your groups to engage in this sharing. The question that we are seeking to ask is, feeling from my heart, what role must the grandmothers and women play in bringing peace? In feeling from my heart, what role must the grandmothers and women play in bringing peace? And finally, as you move into your smaller groups, there will be one grandmother from our circle, not to lead, but to be there to remind you of the question, to be there and listen deeply to your sharing. And so with that, I thank Suzanne again for her meditation and her sharing. I thank my sister Susan for bringing this question to our circle and to all of you. And at this point, I will pass the feather to our host, who will begin to set up our individual groups. Don't forget, look on your screen and you'll see a little window pop up that will ask you to accept to be in that circle. Once we're complete, we will all come back into this main room again. So with that, I place the feather back into the center.
This is Susanna picking up the feather. I try to manage the technique with the breakout groups. We will have 4 breakout groups with 5 or 6 people, women. And if everything is going just the way the system shows and will work, it's popping up a little window on your screen, and you just push the button, say join, and the system is moving you in your little group. You will have 45 minutes for the sharings, so you have a little bit an amount of time so that everybody has time to share. And because I'm the technique person, I will stay here in the main room until everybody has found its place, and then I will just try to jump in. I hope that will work. And I will give every group 5 minutes before it's finished a little note into the group, so you know, okay, now we have to get to closure. Okay. Are there any questions, or is everything with that all right?
Suzanne, I just want to confirm, I think you had asked that I stay out of the rooms.
Did you close the room? Because when you close the room so nobody is coming in, you also could move into the or if you like.
Okay, do you want to lock the meeting?
I could do that. So, or what do you think?
Well, yes, because what's happening is when new participants are coming in, I don't have the option to let them in. For
okay, so I lock it, and that's, I think it's security meeting. Okay, now it's locked.
Okay.
So, and now I will move you. move you into the session. I hope everything will work fine. Okay.
Hello, hello. I see some familiar faces. Grandmother Diane and Allison and Nancy. Hello, welcome to this breakout session. Awesome. All right, well, I want to make sure everybody has plenty of time to share. So first of all, just so glad to see you all. And everybody, do you understand the question, or do you want to just start from your reactions? Oh, we're joined by Nancy here. Hello, Nancy.
Why don't you read the question again for me?
All right, well, looks like we're getting a few more people. Morgana, welcome. And is it Mira Michelle? Welcome. Nancy and Allison. So glad that you're all here. So the question we want you to share from your heart is really to answer not just from a personal level of what you can do to bring peace in the world, but also just this bigger picture is if this prophecy is true, which I firmly believe it is, and has lived traveling from Siberia to Patagonia, interviewing grandmothers around the world about this prophecy. And it exists in every culture. What is the role that we as women and grandmothers have in bringing about peace at this time? How do we do it collectively? What can we offer to the greater conversation about the role that grandmothers and women have in bringing peace? And this idea behind heart sharing is just for you to, integrate that head and the heart together in your sharing. Not just speak from our minds, which I've noticed a lot of people have been doing throughout the week, which is great. We have a mind for a reason. But I know one of the elders that is a part of a circle and someone that I've spent a lot of time with, Grandmother Percy, who's a Hopi elder, talks a lot about how we need to bring that mind and that heart together before we speak. And so this heart sharing is just one technique or one way to do that so that we can speak from that place when we answer that question. And if you go somewhere else with it, that's great too. Whatever you share and however you do it from your heart is totally fine. And I'll take some notes so that we can share when we come back a little bit of what our group talked about. So with that, I'm going to put the feather into the center of the circle. Whenever you feel moved to answer the question, just pick it up and say your name and who you are, and then go ahead and speak. So I return the feather to the center.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Morgana, and I have been thinking a little bit about this question today, and the thing I would like to share from my heart is, I think, something that we all know, and that is that women are the creators, whether it's a physical creation or whatever form of creation it is. We tend not to be the destroyers so much. We tend to want to hold life and create and nurture life. And I suppose for me, I feel as though that it will be the basis for creating a very different sort of culture and civilization for us all, because if we want to outflow from ourselves this nurturing tendencies we have, it's going to automatically build really different sort of places that we're going to be in. And I think that we're going to feel completely comfortable in the world in a really different way. Whereas at the moment, I often feel like I have to navigate a world that's been built by a more masculine way of thinking, which is a little bit different from the way I think. So I felt a little bit alienated from it. And I would like to step into a world where I feel as though we have created it more in our, not our image, but in the way that we operate from the feminine. But I feel like men can also operate from that place, because we have the divine masculine and feminine within us. And in that way, we can then bridge also between the sky god, the divine masculine, and the divine feminine of the macrocosm. That's what I would like to share. Thank you.
Are you returning the feather, Morgana? Are you finished?
Oh, sorry. I was just in that feeling. It's so beautiful. Yes, sorry. I returned the feather to the circle.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
It's such a beautiful, lovely feeling here.
Thank you. I will pick up that feather. I thank you for having this circle for us today and sharing your beautiful vision and understanding, Susan. I thank each of you women for showing up. And just by us coming together and holding this space, we are the beginning of this vision, of this prophecy, taking shape and taking form in the material world as we do this spiritual work. And for me, I see us having the wisdom married with the love that has to be the balance for justice, the courage to let these systems, all of these systems that are so oppressive to not just the people but the earth, to let them fall, to see them actually falling apart. And as scary as that can be, we know that the fruit of this gives us a new beginning. And I think as women, for us, that is like, and I love this image of us, those of us who have given birth, of knowing what we're going to go through to give birth. And we do it anyways. And in that sense, we're the midwives for this new opening, this birth. And other people may not be able to understand or feel or see that in the same way that we are. That as these systems fall apart, that is the that pain and the scariness of it. We're going to go through that to come out the other side. My greatest concern is that we stop halfway, that we don't let it all fall, that we try to patch it up and go back to the status quo. And we want to hold space through this connection with others to allow that in ways that are even unknown to us, that mystery of spirit is going to come through and heal in every level for us to create this peace. And I thank you, and I return this feather to the circle.
If I may take the feather next, sisters. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. I have a sacred. This feather is a vulture feather from the Amazons, given to me by a 1-year-old Amazonian child. It's the feather of Sekhmet, and many shamans use the feather of the Gaia, it's called in German, which I like that name. Wait. So I thank you. It's an honor to be here with you. You are all magic. Susan, you are magic with a purpose. That's beautiful. So I would like to offer some tobacco and sage here for my ancestors that I'm permitted to speak. Thank you. And you've been through many trials. You learned that the only way to speak is from the heart, from your truth, from your stomach. So for me, the grandmothers, this prophecy is, firstly, it is about all women. It's about all women. And the grandmothers are the wisest of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. This is what I feel. And the grandmothers I work with in spirit, who stand behind me, I call them my 6 bosses. They told me a few years ago that the most important ceremony at the moment is the Crone Ceremony. The maiden ceremony is also important for the young ones to be initiated in the earth magic. But right now, they told me for the last 5 years, it is that women who no longer give their blood need the Crone Ceremony. And that so many have not had this ceremony, and it's vitally important that they go into the ceremony to consciously, with eyes wide open and hearts wide open, to accept their innate primal wisdom. And that's not given automatically. It needs to be agreed upon by the woman who sits in the position of crone. And this is the first important part for me to be recognized. And if I speak more, then I must cry, because If I think about the vibration of the grandmother who's in her heart, I know that the world is missing her so much. Who's truly in her heart, in her compassion, in her ways with the earth. And that this, our humanity is deeply, deeply, in such a profound way, missing this vibration. And she has a power that moves in silence like the earth. That's why she's needed. She doesn't have to think. Many times she doesn't even have to speak. And I think that there's a deep part of us, that magic part of us, that's missing her. It's really missing her vibration being present. So what I have to say about that is that during the time of the great killings of female kind, she was the first one that was put to the fire, put to the water. That's why my spirit brought me here to Germany. I live in Germany. I'm not German, but I like Germans. My husband's German. My sons are half German. I'm English, Irish on my mother's side. I think this is important to know this, why. I was born in England, and she married a Black native man from America, Turtle Island. So I came here, and what they told me is I need to clean the sites where the women were burned and killed as witches. And I have done many, many, many sites and read the names, found the names and read the names of these women. It's very, very, very powerful. And there's so many more. And this, I feel, is allowing something to happen in the silence, deeply allowing something to happen. Whew, makes me hot. And I see it like this. My sister Susanna, you asked us to see the bigger perspective also. I think those two parts are part of the bigger perspective. And I also feel like this prophecy is also a destiny, right? And I feel like I've studied female history her story very deeply. And if you look at our prehistory, you will begin to understand why the Great Mother was the first deity on our planet before any other, right? And I feel like we've been in a great learning curve. We needed to develop the mind in the way that we have. It's also difficult to say that because so many awful, awful things have happened because of this development. However, now we've come to the great healing, restoration, let's say. So with this vibration, we can do it. But like our sister Allison has said, hold on, I just have about 1 minute more to speak. I feel now, it's somewhere deep in the stomach area. It's somewhere deep in the stomach. Will women who have the ability, it's a really big picture. I try to put it into words. Will women that have the ability to walk with it, will they feel it deeply enough? Can they feel it? Because it's become so foreign to us. It has to do with an impulse that is far beyond the mind. And when you follow that impulse, let's just say, for example, if I walk on the medicine wheel, like if I go into ceremony and I begin to do what I've done 100 times, then all of a sudden Spirit says, no, turn to the left, walk 2 steps back, bend over, do that, stand back up, and go that way. Which makes no sense at all whatsoever in any kind of fashion or way. But I do it. And then I find that there's the magic. That's exactly what needed to happen. That sort of impulse that is totally backwards to our rational mind. That I feel that there's the place where we women and emerging grandmothers like myself and you women and grandmothers have to be able to follow that vibration. And sometimes it's not funny. It is really not funny. It is not happy. You are in pain, like the labor, like Sister Morgana said. Love that name. And you all have to be very strong. And that is why I related to my sister Allison, because she said, will we stop in the middle? And that is a good question, I feel. But once we have that peace, I know we can. Those are my words, and I have spoken. Thank you. Aye. My sisters, if you saw, I passed the feather. Oh, hey.
Nancy, would you like to pick up the feather? Share.
Sure. Okay, so the last few days, I feel that the world is missing empathy. People just, I don't think they, I want to say practice it, or they know how to feel that or how to be connected to humanity as a whole. And I believe that, honestly, I believe women are better at it than, and we can pass that on to other people, and hopefully they can see how to heal the world. Because I was talking to somebody the other day about that, and so that's kind of what we're missing. We're missing this element of empathy, because it hurts. It hurts everybody. It hurts humanity when we don't face ourselves, or we don't gain the understanding of somebody else, or try to put ourselves in that kind of position, no matter what it is, because truly we could find ourselves in a similar place rather quickly. And I think that, it would help with the hurting, with this, with the pain, and it actually, I feel that it lets people know that we're not alone. I know that I have my own daughter, and I have to try to be empathetic to her plight. She is a teenager, which, I know I've been there before, but of course the dynamic has definitely changed, and try to be empathetic to her and try to tell her, yes, I understand, and yes, I want to hear what you have to say, and yes, I want to try to help you and heal you, and so you can put this part of you aside, or the challenge that you are facing aside, so you can focus on other things. Does that, hope that makes sense. So, and I place the feather back in the circle.
Grandmother Diane, would you pick it up?
I'm picking it up right now, even though I don't have it here, but we can imagine. I'm surrounded by live feathers that are tweeting and whatever. I'm up in New Hampshire in a campsite, socially distancing for a few weeks because we just got here, and making camp probably for most of the summer. And in relation to the things that people have said are really deeply touching me, and from where you're coming from is far deeper sounding in some ways than I think I have to offer. But I've not ever been pregnant, given birth, nor had children or grandchildren of my own, but I'm a mentor to many young children. And recently I've been with a partner who has grandchildren that I have judgment about because I don't feel like they're disciplined enough and they're much too entitled. And so I struggle with how to find the balance for me with them, in the sense of that sort of center ground, or flipping from one to the other, I don't know exactly, but on the one hand, giving the love and affection and caring and encouragement and cheering ahead, especially when there's no touching and there's no getting close, which is a little strange. On the other hand, kind of setting the boundaries and the rules and the laws, and setting the example of beginning to take responsibility for, especially for the privilege that they and we and you and probably all of us on this call have, to say, no, this is not okay. This cannot continue. I won't allow it to go forward in the way that it's going, even on little things and on political, national, international scenes, and how to find that balance on one hand, and the other another focus, which I'm working with personally, which is how to acknowledge that probably in other lifetimes, in other places, in other situations, I have been perpetrating the things that I want to push against now. And that a trust that on some level, I believe every soul comes down to the earth with the intention of doing something good. And some of us, some more than others perhaps, have held up our hand and say, I want a really difficult assignment this time. I can handle it all. I can go against those patterns that I and we have had for generations of separation and violence and anger and all of that stuff. And so within myself, trying to both set boundaries and imagine that perhaps that person or that group that is doing the things that I abhor really needs the love and understanding to bring them out of their reactions, and they're being caught in a negative spiral that that just kind of goes out of control. I watched a movie about Hitler's last couple of days the other night, which was horrible. But he just went off into 2 or 4-year-old tyrannical rages about everything. It reminded me of someone I see and hear around our issues today. But, you know, his soul and all of our souls would like to be doing the right thing, and we need the guidance. And the guidance comes from the grandmothers traditionally, I believe, and the grandfathers. Those who've been through it, those who have wisdom, those who can see the trajectory of if this child, if this woman, if this man makes that choice and is allowed to make that choice and is given power and access to those choices, things are not going to go well. So say, this gate is down, you may not go that direction. Now, how to act that out in everyday whatever, especially in the middle of a pandemic, is not real clear to me. But I'm working with those issues within myself, and I hope to grow stronger and clearer and more loving and able to act and listen to the callings of, you know, take that step back, go left, go however it is that I'm called to do, regardless of what my fear might tell me the consequences might be. So I guess that's what I have to say this morning. Thank you. I put the feather back.
Well, thank you all for sharing. That's so profound. This is Grandmother Susan. I'll pick it up for a moment here and say that I think we've all touched on aspects of what it is that we do bring forward as grandmothers, and Grandmother Diane just touched on something that's really been in my heart, and it's, are we, both of you, I mean, all of you have, but, and Mira Michelle too, saying about, are we willing to give up something that we love and we've held on to in order to bring about this peace? Are we willing to change direction if that's what the universe is calling us to do? And I think that is what is happening. I've noticed, and sometimes this idea of what love is that we're soft and we're quiet and we're this and we're that. That image of women is so confining. And I know my grandmother, sometimes she'd just whop you on the side of the head and say, you know, cut it out. Or, you know, I mean, I don't agree with the whopping part, but in a spiritual or figurative sense, to say that by saying that behavior is unacceptable, that's love. By listening to what people are experiencing and their pain, but also setting parameters that this behavior and this way of being and this selfish tantrum behavior is not going to get you what you want, because we need to cooperate. We need to learn skill sets that will allow us to come together in unity and peace. And so that's part of what I think the role of what I've been learning from listening to grandmothers, that's part of the role that we do have. And I find that even in groups of people, this is just my individual perception, and it could be completely wrong, but as I've been listening to a lot of groups this week on the World Unity Week, I've been seeing all these amazing things that people are doing with so much passion and so much love. And I've been asking myself, are you willing, if the universe is telling us, if Mother Earth is telling us, we need something different, we need to put that down and come together in a different way. Are you willing to hear that? And there was an elder from Peru who shared in the first day that I was so struck by. And I thought his words were incredibly profound. And he said, Mother Earth, from their belief of the people from Peru, their belief is Mother Earth is going to take care of herself. Our job right now is to listen and ask how we can rise to that vibration and do what is being asked of us. And what I find that grandmothers bring to the table is very often we're able to put our egos to the side and just be present and allow and listen to one another from that heart sharing place to where we can stop and hear what is being asked of us and then act on what is being asked of us. And I think that's a message that we have to bring to the divine masculine, to the not the divine masculine, but the male paradigm, that just stop, listen. Don't act always out from your head or from what you think you need to fix, but just listen and be. And in that space that we've created, there are answers that come forward. So thank you all for bringing those answers forward and for being willing to be in this space, all of us together, so that we can bring this message forward. Unity, love, peace, cooperation, justice, equality, men and women, understanding. The skills to bring those out in the world are what we're practicing. And the willingness to put aside our egos and our individuality and our separateness in order to feel that unity. So thank you so much. I put the feather back in the center, and anyone who'd like to pick it up again that isn't complete or has something else to share, please feel free to pick up the feather again. Thank you. And Gunalshish, which is thank you in the Tlingit language, and Hawa.
Is there time? Is it all right if I just say one other thing? I was just listening to what you were saying, Susan, and thinking about that difference, the masculine and the feminine. And I suppose maybe, that masculine imperative is to plant and to procreate. And so you can kind of see that in how men operate. So that's their drive. And our primal imperative is to then nurture that which has been implanted. And maybe what we see as the world that is passing away now is the world that we had to create as a result of that masculine imperative. We had to be really creative to really anchor ourselves into this world. And we've been doing that through a number of, different traditions and cultures, haven't we? Like learning how to be on the planet, how to exist and survive. But now we've obviously come to a place where the feminine imperative needs to be coming. So all this amazing stuff. Well, now it's about how do we create something now that is something that's good for all of us, not just for the ones who have benefited from this masculine imperative. So I think the feminine very much is quite egalitarian. Like, I think women in general have this need to make everything work for everybody, to be very fair and to create order and organization. I mean, if we do it in the house or wherever we do it, we like to try to, and that's how I see the future world, being one more of order and beauty and harmony, the things that are more in line with this, and perhaps that will be the new, stage. Thank you. I hand the feather back.
If I may take the feather, sweet sister Makana, thank you so much. I feel you on that. I'm with you on that too. For me, one of the biggest words is ceremony. That should be on the list that you just made, Sister Suzanne. The ceremony, ceremony, ceremony. The ceremony is actually one of the only places that we will get steeped in that sacred vibration. And for me, knowing the human mind, I was raised in the Western world too, is if we don't have one ceremony a month, we're programmed. We are so programmed. It's unbelievable. You know, we've gotten to this place. I've seen my ancestors suffer to such an extent. My great cousin was killed by LAPD 5 years ago, suffocated to death. And no one's doing anything. No one wants to come out of their comfort zones. Again and again and again, you know, to walk the path of the shaman like I have been in Europe, in Germany. I mean, and I'm completely full all the time with my work. People are attracted. They want to be in that sacred vibration. They just don't know really what it is because they can't get their mind around it. But there isn't a way to get the mind around it. We just need to go in sacred ceremony as much as we can to raise the vibration in our body, mind, in ourselves, to begin to remember. It's ceremony for me. So let's get all those men and women in ceremony together. And when they think the ceremony is over, that's when the ceremony should start. When we're tired, when we're exhausted, when we want to vomit, when we don't think we can go on anymore, that's when the ceremony starts, because then the mind is away and we're in our primal instincts, and that's when the vibration gets really strong and it starts to change that manipulated overlay, you know, and I do that a lot here. And I'm down on my knees begging people to go into ceremony. Ceremony was actually the task of the women. If you go back 8,000 years, it was women that created ceremony. It was a thanksgiving to the Great Mother. It was always women that created ceremony first. And women always had choice of sexuality also. Yes. So women, we're the procreators, as we've all said. So let's take that huge power and bring people into ceremony in a deep and real way. Then we will have peace on planet Earth. Hey, Yahete.
Wow.
Thank you. Feather.
We're asked to return to the main session right now. And so is there someone that would like to share for us when we come back? You would like me to?
Yeah, you're great. What do you think, sisters? Yes.
All right, well, I will do my best. And then it comes up, I'm gonna click the button that says return to main session and give it a second. We should automatically all return back to the main circle. Okay, so I'm clicking the button.
Okay. So I make sure that nobody is stuck. Okay, beautiful, great. And maybe you can put on me back on as co-host then?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so everybody is back. I hope you enjoyed your time in the sharings, the heart sharings in your little groups, and I move the feather to Diane.
Picking up the feather. Hello, everyone. Welcome back from your groups. And for these next 15 minutes or so, what we would love to hear is what are some of the things that were shared in your group. And so if someone from one of the groups would like to share what they, what your group discussed in terms of how grandmothers can bring about peace, or anything else that was shared in your circle.
Well, this is Diane White, and I'll go ahead and pick up the feather. This is a hard thing. I know each of us is probably feeling, oh no, what do we say? What do I say? So much in our little circle was shared from the heart, and we were all so powerful in listening in a sacred manner, as if God were speaking, that we felt, hello? Okay, that we felt, sorry, I got distracted.
I'm sorry, I thought I was on.
It's okay. In our everyday way of being women, mothers, grandmothers, all of that, sisters, that we share a connection. Putting it in my own words is challenging, but we bring unity. We bring people together in a heart-centered way, I would say, because that's just naturally our nurturing nature. That's how we are. And that men, although I have nothing against men whatsoever, I love them dearly, but they're challenged being men because they're more about being number one, being more powerful, being in control. And that energy is a little bit contrary to the feminine energy, and it creates a little static in the air. So that's just my way of putting what I heard and what I believe. So I think that's enough from me. I return the feather. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Well, this is Susan. I'll pick up the feather, and I'm going to pick up my drum too because it's been wanting me to share. And our group was amazing. I just love all my sisters that were in our session, and so much wisdom and beauty shared. There were topics that came up were similar to what you had said, Grandmother Diane, but there was also talked about the need to bring forward ceremony, because we as women and grandmothers understand how bringing that forward is so important, and that now is the time for this feminine imperative to come forward, which is the feminine imperative, if I'm saying it right, is a more egalitarian willingness to make it work for everyone. That that we as grandmothers not only have to find that balance between being loving and hearing and listening to everyone, but also the balance of providing boundaries and guidance and being willing to say no when we see behavior going off in a wrong direction, being willing to speak to that. Bringing forward empathy, the connection that we have as women to bring forward empathy for all people and all creatures and all beings. Along with ceremony, women have this ability to listen to, and our destiny being to move with what is coming forward, not necessarily to stick with something that we planned, but to hear what's coming forward in the moment and to move forward with that in that way, and to bring forward this primal wisdom that's coming from Mother Earth at this time, and to not quit before the birth is over, to be willing to have the courage to let these oppressive systems that are dying right now to die, and to have the courage and the wisdom to see what's going on, but know that this birth is coming forward, and not give up prior to when this time comes as this birth. And then also, as the creators, we want to create and nurture all life, and that this comfortable world that we're living in, we need to have the ability to be, and the willingness to help people to be midwives of this new birth process that's currently going on. So those are just a few things from my notes. There was so much more. It was so profound, and I think it just, and the reason I wanted to share my drum, I don't know if you can see it, but when I traveled interviewing grandmothers around the world, these are some of the symbols. From Siberia, it's the white swan, the eagle from the north, the dove of peace, the bear, the golden eagle from Australia, the condor from South America, the turtle from Turtle Island, and the wolf. And all of these symbols, and of course in the center, most important to me is the hummingbird, which is the universal symbol of the grandmothers. And so I guess to bring all of these together around one circle, that's our role as grandmothers. So with that, I return the feather with deep heart sharing gratitude for everyone who shared.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. I don't want to take too much time, but I wanted to ask, I've been so moved by this entire circle, and I have to leave in just a few minutes. I'm going to be presenting a session at noon, and I just need to prepare myself a little bit. But I wanted to ask the group if you wouldn't mind. I have a poem that came to me a couple of weeks ago, and it is just, it's so much what I see taking place here right now, and I was wondering, it would just take a couple of minutes. Would you mind if I shared this poem with you? Would that be all right?
We would love to hear it.
Please do.
And then I'll let my other group members share the profound things that we also spoke about. So this poem is about the shining women that I have been so blessed to know, and you are all part of this. Of these circles. Can you see them? They are gathering. The shining women with flowing hips and rainbow skin, water jugs balanced on their skulls. They carry grass baskets of cassava bread and mangrove crabs caught by hand in the thick heat, thighs dark with mud. They are coming to feed and swaddle us, to free the oppressed, and bind us to what we flee and must come home to immediately. Look at the bruises on their arms, the risen scars on their backs, the silent wounds in their minds, and their own bright bodies condemned to dust, rising again and again in rapture. Will you join them? The shining women who circle the earth alive with spirit, at play with the work we are brought here to do. Their hidden crowns make flower white roses from dead thorns, and their coal-rimmed eyes are black as the night that births light upon light into our world. Will you join them at the feast they've spread under the olive and fig trees? They've come with pomegranate seeds and wheat for planting. They have charred peppers and crushed maize for stew. They've drawn water from the river, which is sweet again, and touched a drop to our foreheads, so we can think clearly and eat well and dance with naked feet and hair flying long into the night.
Oh.
Oh, Adriana, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where are you presenting? What room? What are you presenting about?
It's the open space session, and it will be about the 7 practices of true relation. So it's about embodying justice.
Thank you, Adriana. That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Do we have another group that needs to share? Thank you.
Annika, you're muted.
Yes. But somebody.
I'm so bad at this.
Someone from our group.
Is it okay for me to read a poem? Oh,
could someone from the group that I was with, can somebody from that group share? Summer, could you share? Okay.
Sure.
And yes, after that, whoever would like to, if you have others sharing, Annika, if you could wait and let's let all the groups share, and then please share that poem. We'd love to hear it.
Of course.
This is Susanna picking up really quick the feather. Liz asked me in the pause until if we can finish a little earlier so that she has time to set up the next group. So we just need to manage a little bit of time. And so with that, I return back the feather, but I don't want to interrupt this beautiful energy right now. Thank you.
I will be very brief. I think the big thing that I have totally fell in love with my circle and all of you, really. And the one thing that I just feel called to share is in the sense of the question and the quest here is I feel all of us are golden doves transmuting stories of separation, hate, pain, that the earth is feeling that we have and we do just by being here, are transmuting that, and that we are these golden doves in ceremony orbiting over those places all over planet Earth is what I saw and what I see and feel in my heart. And I have a lot of faith in where we're going, in the prophecies of peace on earth by 2030 is something I see and feel, hopefully before that. And I'll put the feather back into the center of the circle.
Thank you, Summer Joy. In our group, we had a little bit of magic that occurred in our group. But in terms of how grandmothers and women can bring about peace, we talked about just constantly speaking, bringing our voices forward, not just on a regular basis, and to put our voices in places that may make us a little bit uncomfortable, so that there's a little bit of a stretch. The relationship between women and water. This is spinning off of yesterday's events, but women as water warriors, I believe was the terms. The waters within us, and also representative of the waters without us, and that is a very specific role that women and grandmothers can step into. In addition, when women and grandmothers gather to pray or in ceremony, innately they bring in their ancestors. Innately they bring in their descendants, those we will never see. And so in this way, there was constantly this forward movement of prayers and ceremonies for those yet to come. And that is another way that peace can be seated, that peace can be grounded. And finally, to remember to claim our voices, and claim as an action verb. To remember that there are so many different ways to claim it, despite what's happening externally, or despite other messages that we might get. The magic that occurred in our group was that 4 of us already knew each other very well, and one member was new and had not done a heart sharing, and she was unable at some point to hear the heart sharings that we were giving. So she stayed. She was feeling the energy, but she couldn't hear it. She did her heart share last, and it was as if she had heard what we said anyway. And she was so worried, like, I can't hear what you're saying, but she heard it. And so that was just a little bit of magic that I wanted to share that occurred in our group. And with that, I'm complete.
Have all the groups shared then? I believe, just in interest of time, Anne Matrenga, if you said you'd like to share a poem, and then Anahata was going to bring our session to a close and close the directions. So why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. And I've not been in this group before. I hope to be in it many times again. This is a poem I wrote for my grandmother, whom I never knew, who immigrated from Poland following her husband around 1900, 1910. She gave birth to my father, first child born in this country, and she died little after childbirth. But I've always thought of her with gratitude for what she brought. And she was known as Razala. So this poem is called To Razala. It's not too long. Grandmother, did you leave with your hopes high? Did you look at your daughter, too sick to travel, and try to memorize her features, praying that you'd see her again before long? Did you ask yourself, how long? Were you wearing a scarf and a long wool coat, bundled up, and were you cold? Did you make the 4 children who went with you join hands, afraid to lose them in the crowd? Did you think you had a choice to stay or go? Did you waver? Did you watch from the deck as the ship pulled away until your sister and your daughter were just a speck on the dock? Was there a single moment when you held on to the rail to keep from jumping? Were you sick in steerage? Did you cry? When your ship approached the harbor, did you see the Statue of Liberty? And did you believe the woman with the torch stood for good things to come? Did you wonder whether your husband would be waiting? And what did you think you'd do if you couldn't find him? Were you scared? Did you turn your face when a photographer took your picture? Or did you stare straight at him and hold your breath, pretending that he thought you were beautiful? Were you angry? Did you give your name down in unfamiliar letters that could have meant anything at all? Did you care? When you arrived on the mainland with your children in your bags and walked to where families were waiting for their relations, how did you feel? Were you proud? If you had known from the start that it would all end for you in loss, and your children would grow up without you, and your name would be forgotten, would you still have come here? That's the end.
To close this beautiful circle of sisters and relations and grandmothers, I will sing some toning into this tar drum. And and use a few Hawaiian words that are used to say the path of the rainbow. And we send this out to all our relations. Aho. Hey Allah, oh, anu enu anu ke Allah, oh, anu hey Allah, oh, anu, anu,
Thank you everyone for sharing. Please, if you'd like to get contacted, put your email in the chat real quick. And we send our blessings out from wherever we are into this world. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Let's go ahead and stop the recording. And